David rushed his sick daughter to the hospital, but stopped when he saw a pregnant teenager crying alone in the rain. His decision to help her would change 3 lives forever. Sometimes the family you choose becomes more precious than the one you're born into. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain fell hard on the hospital parking lot that cold November evening. David Martinez pulled his old pickup truck into a spot near the emergency entrance, his hands shaking slightly as he turned off the engine. His 7-year-old daughter Emma sat in the back seat, her face pale and her breathing shallow. "Daddy, my chest hurts," Emma whispered. "I know, sweetheart. The doctors will make you feel better," David said, trying to keep his voice calm. Inside, his heart was racing. As a single father working 2 jobs just to make ends meet, a trip to the emergency room meant bills he couldn't afford. But Emma's fever had spiked to 103 degrees and he had no choice. As he got out of the truck to help Emma, he noticed a young girl sitting alone on a bench near the hospital entrance. She looked no older than 16, with long dark hair covering most of her face. Even through the rain he could see she was crying. Her thin jacket was soaked and she was shivering in the cold. David's first instinct was to help, but Emma needed him now. He lifted his daughter into his arms and hurried toward the entrance, glancing back at the girl one more time. Something about her reminded him of his younger sister, who had run away from home when she was just 15. Inside the emergency room, David filled out paperwork while Emma lay on his lap, her small body burning with fever. The waiting room was crowded, and the receptionist told him it would be at least 3 hours before a doctor could see Emma. "Daddy, I'm thirsty," Emma said weakly. David walked to the vending machine in the corner, fishing through his pockets for quarters. He had exactly enough for 1 bottle of water. As he fed the coins into the machine, he looked out the window and saw the same girl still sitting on the bench, now completely soaked from the rain. He couldn't take it anymore. "Emma, I'll be right back, okay? I'm just going to help someone." David stepped outside into the rain. The girl looked up when she heard his footsteps, and he could see she was very young and very pregnant. Probably about 7 months along. "Hey there," David said gently, sitting down on the wet bench beside her. "I'm David. Are you okay?" The girl shook her head, tears mixing with raindrops on her cheeks. "I'm sorry. I know I look terrible. I don't know where else to go." "What's your name?" "Sophia," she whispered. "Sophia Chen." "Sophia, you're going to get sick sitting out here in this rain. Do you need medical help?" Sophia nodded slowly. "The baby, something's wrong. I've been having pains all day, but I don't have insurance. I don't have money. I called the hospital, and they said I need someone to sign papers because I'm only 16. David felt his heart break. "Where are your parents?" "They kicked me out when they found out I was pregnant. That was 4 months ago. I've been staying with friends, but..." She started crying harder. "Everyone's tired of helping me. I have nowhere to go, and I'm so scared something's wrong with my baby." David looked through the window at Emma, who was now sleeping in one of the waiting room chairs. He thought about his own struggles, his empty bank account, the bills piling up at home. The smart thing would be to wish Sophia luck and go back to his own problems. Instead, he stood up and held out his hand. "Come on, Sophia. Let's get you inside." "But I told you I can't pay." "Don't worry about that right now. Let's just make sure you and your baby are safe." Sophia stared at his outstretched hand for a moment, then took it. David helped her stand and walked her into the hospital. At the reception desk, David spoke quietly to the nurse. "This young lady needs to see a doctor. She's having pregnancy complications." "Is she a relative?" the nurse asked. David looked at Sophia, who was staring at the floor. She's like family to me." The nurse looked skeptical but handed Sophia a clipboard with forms. "Someone will need to take financial responsibility." "I will," David said without hesitation. Sophia's eyes went wide. "Mr. David, you can't do that. You don't even know me. You're 16, pregnant and scared. That's all I need to know." While Sophia filled out her medical forms, David sat with Emma, who was finally starting to feel a little better after taking some children's medicine from the nurse. Emma looked curiously at the girl David had brought inside. "Daddy, who is she?" Emma asked. "Her name is Sophia. She needs our help." Emma studied Sophia with the innocent wisdom that only children possess. "She looks sad." "Yes, she does. That's why we're going to help her feel better." "Like how you help me when I'm sad?" "Exactly like that." 2 hours later, both Emma and Sophia had been seen by doctors. Emma had pneumonia but was responding well to antibiotics. Sophia's baby was fine, but she was dehydrated and exhausted. The doctor wanted to keep her overnight for observation. I can't stay, Sophia told the doctor. I don't have anywhere to go after this and I can't afford. Yes, you can, David interrupted. And you will. After Emma was discharged with antibiotics and instructions to rest, David made a decision that would change all their lives. He found Sophia in her hospital room, staring out the window at the parking lot where he had first seen her. Sophia, I want to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. She turned to look at him, her eyes red from crying. I live in a small house about 20 minutes from here. It's not fancy but it's warm and clean. Emma and I have been living alone there for 3 years since her mother died. There's a spare room that we use for storage. David paused, choosing his words carefully. Would you like to come stay with us? Just until you figure things out. Sophia's mouth opened in surprise. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. But you don't know anything about me. I could be a bad person. I could steal from you or... Sophia, look at me. David's voice was gentle but firm. 3 years ago, I was sitting in a hospital room just like this one. Emma's mother had just died in a car accident, and I didn't know how I was going to raise a daughter by myself. I was scared, broke, and completely lost. He sat down in the chair next to her bed. A nurse named Mrs. Rodriguez worked the night shift. She had no reason to help me but she did. She taught me how to braid Emma's hair, helped me find affordable daycare, even brought us groceries when she knew we were struggling. She saved our lives. Sophia was listening intently now. Mrs. Rodriguez told me something I'll never forget. She said, sometimes God puts people in our path not just so we can help them but so they can help us too. I think maybe that's what's happening here. How could I possibly help you? Sophia asked. I'm just a pregnant teenager with no money and no family. David smiled. Emma asks me every night when she's going to have a mother again. Not because she doesn't love our life together, but because she sees other families and wonders what that would be like. You're going to need people who care about you and your baby. We're going to need someone who makes our little family feel more complete. Maybe we can help each other. Sophia was quiet for a long time. Finally she spoke. What if this doesn't work out? What if I'm too much trouble? Then we'll figure it out together. But Sophia, I have a feeling this is going to work out better than either of us can imagine right now. The next morning, David helped Sophia pack her few belongings from the youth shelter where she had been staying temporarily. Emma came along, chattering excitedly about showing Sophia her room and her toys. Sophia, do you like pancakes? Emma asked as they drove to the house. Daddy makes really good pancakes on Saturdays. I love pancakes, Sophia said, smiling for the first time since David had met her. What about your baby? Will the baby like pancakes too? Babies drink milk at first, Emma. But when the baby gets bigger, maybe we can all have pancakes together. Emma clapped her hands. Yes, we can have pancake parties. David's house was small but comfortable. Sophia's room was indeed full of storage boxes, but it had a window with a view of the backyard and enough space for a bed and dresser. David and Emma spent the afternoon moving boxes and setting up a comfortable space for Sophia. We don't have a crib yet, David said apologetically. But we can figure that out. Mr. David, this is already more than I ever expected. Thank you. That evening, as David made dinner, Sophia sat at the kitchen table helping Emma with her homework. He watched them together and felt something he hadn't felt in years, like his house was truly a home. Over the next few weeks, their unusual family began to find its rhythm. Sophia proved to be surprisingly good with Emma, helping her get ready for school in the mornings and assisting with homework in the evenings. In return, David took Sophia to all her doctor appointments and helped her apply for government assistance programs. The real surprise was how much Sophia helped around the house. Despite being 7 months pregnant, she insisted on cooking dinner most evenings, claiming it made her feel useful. Her cooking was amazing. Recipes her grandmother had taught her before she passed away 2 years earlier. My grandmother always said that cooking with love was the best medicine for any family, Sophia told David one evening as they cleaned dishes together. She sounds like she was a wise woman. She was. She would have loved Emma. And she would have been so happy about the baby. Tell me about your parents, Sophia. Are you sure there's no way to work things out with them? Sophia's face clouded over. They said I brought shame to the family. They told me not to come back unless I gave the baby away. She touched her belly protectively. I can't do that. This baby is part of me. What about the baby's father? He was my boyfriend at school. When I told him I was pregnant, he said I was lying and that it wasn't his baby. His parents moved him to a private school across town. Sophia wiped her eyes. I thought he loved me. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid, Sophia. You were 16 and in love. That's not the same thing. As Christmas approached, David faced a difficult reality. His heating bill was higher than usual, Emma needed winter clothes, and now he had Sophia's medical expenses to consider. He had been working extra shifts at both his jobs, but it still wasn't enough. One evening, Emma found him sitting at the kitchen table with a pile of bills, his head in his hands. Daddy, are we poor? Emma asked quietly. David looked up, startled. What made you ask that, sweetheart? Jessica at school said poor people worry about money all the time. You look worried. David pulled Emma onto his lap. We're not poor, Emma. We have a house, food, and people who love us. Sometimes grown-ups have to make hard decisions about money, but that doesn't mean we're poor. Is Sophia going to have to leave because of money? The question hit David like a punch to the chest. Why would you think that? I heard you talking on the phone about bills. And Sophia cries sometimes when she thinks nobody is looking. That night, after Emma was asleep, David found Sophia in the living room, working on a baby blanket she was knitting. Emma thinks you might have to leave, David said, sitting down beside her on the couch. Sophia's hands stopped moving. Do I? David was quiet for a moment. I won't lie to you, Sophia. Money is tight. Tighter than it's ever been. But we'll figure something out. I've been thinking, Sophia said slowly. Maybe I should look for work. There must be something I can do even while pregnant. Sophia, you're 16. You should be in school, not working. I dropped out when my parents kicked me out. I was failing anyway because I was so sick from morning sickness. David had an idea. What if you got your GED? I could help you study, and there are programs for young mothers that provide support while you finish your education. Sophia looked up hopefully. Do you really think I could do that? I know you could. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met, Sophia. Look how you've helped Emma with her homework, how you manage the household budget, how you've learned to take care of yourself. You're stronger than you know. The next week, David enrolled Sophia in a GED program specifically designed for young parents. The program provided childcare, transportation assistance, and even a small stipend for students who maintained good grades. Sophia threw herself into her studies with determination. Emma loved helping her practice math problems, and Sophia helped Emma with her reading in return. Their evening study sessions became a family tradition. But their biggest challenge was yet to come. In early January, Sophia went into labor 3 weeks early. David was at work when Emma called him from their neighbor's house, where she went after school. Daddy? Sophia is crying and holding her tummy. Mrs. Garcia says you need to come home right now. David left work immediately and rushed home to find Sophia in obvious labor. Mrs. Garcia, their elderly neighbor who had become like a grandmother to Emma, had called an ambulance. It's too early, Sophia kept saying. The baby's not ready. Sophia, look at me, David said, holding her hand as they waited for the ambulance. You're going to be fine. The baby's going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. At the hospital, David found himself in an unexpected position. Sophia had listed him as her emergency contact, and the medical staff assumed he was her father. He didn't correct them. Instead, he stayed by Sophia's side through 12 hours of difficult labor. At 3:47 a.m. on January 15th, Sophia gave birth to a baby girl. Despite being 3 weeks early, little Maria Elena Chen was healthy, weighing 6 pounds and 2 ounces. She's perfect, Sophia whispered, tears streaming down her face as she held her daughter for the first time. David felt tears in his own eyes as he looked at the tiny baby. She really is. Mr. David, I want to ask you something. What is it? Would you be Maria's godfather? You're the closest thing to a father I have. David was speechless for a moment. Sophia, I would be honored. When they brought Maria home 3 days later, Emma was beside herself with excitement. She's so tiny. Emma whispered, gently touching the baby's small hand. Can I help take care of her? Of course you can, Sophia said. You're going to be the best big sister. But I'm not really her sister, Emma said, confused. David looked at Sophia, who nodded encouragingly. Emma, come sit with me for a minute. David pulled his daughter onto his lap. Families aren't just made by being born related to each other. Sometimes families are made by people who choose to love each other. Sophia and Maria aren't related to us by blood, but they're family because we choose to be family. Does that make sense? Emma thought about this seriously. So I can call Sophia my sister? If she wants you to and if you want to. Emma looked at Sophia hopefully. Sophia, will you be my sister? Sophia started crying again, but this time they were happy tears. Yes, Emma. I would love to be your sister. 6 months later, their little family had settled into a comfortable routine. Sophia had passed her GED with honors and was accepted into the local community college's nursing program. The program had a daycare where Maria could stay during classes, and Sophia was eligible for grants that would cover most of her expenses. David had been promoted to supervisor at his main job, which came with better pay and health insurance that covered all of them. For the first time in years, he wasn't stressed about money. Most importantly, none of them felt alone anymore. One evening in July, as David was grilling hamburgers in the backyard while Sophia and Emma played with baby Maria on a blanket under the oak tree, their neighbor Mrs. Garcia came over with a pitcher of lemonade. You know, David, I've lived in this neighborhood for 40 years, Mrs. Garcia said, watching the girls laughing together. I've seen a lot of families come and go. But I've never seen a family quite like yours. What do you mean? Most families are born out of obligation or tradition. Your family was born out of choice and love. That's rare. That night, after everyone else was asleep, David sat on the front porch thinking about Mrs. Garcia's words. 18 months ago, he had been a struggling single father who felt like he was failing his daughter every day. Now he was part of a family that felt more complete and happy than he had ever imagined possible. His phone buzzed with a text message from Sophia, who was upstairs in her room. Thank you for saving us. David texted back, thank you for saving us too. The next morning, Sophia came into the kitchen while David was making coffee. Maria was sleeping peacefully in her carrier, and Emma was still in bed. David, I want to tell you something. What's that? I got a letter yesterday from my parents. David's stomach dropped. Sophia's parents had never tried to contact her, even after Maria was born. He had always wondered when this moment would come. They want to meet Maria. They said they've had time to think and they realized they made a mistake. What do you want to do? Sophia was quiet for a long moment. I want to forgive them because holding on to anger hurts too much. But I also want them to understand that you and Emma are my family now. Maria's family. If they want to be part of our lives, they have to accept that. I think that sounds very wise. Will you come with me when I meet them? I don't think I can do it alone. Of course. We're family, Sophia. We do difficult things together. 2 weeks later, David, Sophia, Emma, and baby Maria met Sophia's parents at a restaurant downtown. It was awkward at first. Mr. and Mrs. Chen seemed surprised to see David and Emma. We thought it would just be you and the baby, Mrs. Chen said to Sophia. David and Emma are my family, Sophia replied calmly. If you want to know me and Maria, you need to know them too. The conversation was difficult, but by the end of the afternoon, Sophia's parents seemed to understand how much David and Emma meant to their daughter. They asked if they could see Maria regularly, and Sophia agreed, with the condition that they respect the family she had chosen. As they drove home that evening, Emma asked Sophia, "Are you sad that your parents want you back?" "I'm happy that they want to know Maria," Sophia said. "But Emma, this is my home. You and your daddy are my family. That's not going to change." 1 year later, David received a letter that would change their lives once more. Sophia had been selected for a full scholarship to a 4-year university nursing program. It was an incredible opportunity, but the university was 3 hours away. "I can't take it," Sophia said when she showed him the letter. "I won't break up our family. Sophia, this is your dream. We'll figure out a way to make it work." "Oh, I can't ask you to move. Emma is happy in her school, and you have a good job here." David had been thinking about this possibility for months. "What if we all moved? I can transfer to the company's branch office near the university. Emma can start fresh in a new school. It might be good for all of us." Sophia stared at him in amazement. "You would do that? You would uproot your whole life so I can go to college?" "Sophia, 3 years ago you were a scared teenager with nowhere to go. Now look at you. You're going to be a nurse. You're going to help people the way Mrs. Rodriguez helped me, the way you've helped Emma and me. This family believes in your dreams." Emma, who had been listening from the doorway, ran into the room. "Are we really going to move? Will I get to go to a new school? Would you like that?" David asked. "Yes. And Sophia can be a nurse and help sick people like she helped me when I had pneumonia." 6 months later, they were packing boxes and loading a moving truck. Their little house had been sold to a young couple who promised to take good care of the oak tree in the backyard where they had spent so many happy afternoons. Mrs. Garcia came over to say goodbye, bringing homemade cookies for the road trip. "You're going to do great things, Mija," she told Sophia, hugging her tight. And David, you raised two beautiful daughters. Only one is mine biologically, David said. Mrs. Garcia smiled. Biology doesn't make a parent, Mijo. Love makes a parent. As they drove away from their old life toward their new adventure, Maria, now a chattering 2-year-old, fell asleep in her car seat, and Emma dozed against Sophia's shoulder. Are you nervous? David asked Sophia as they drove through the countryside. Terrified, Sophia admitted, but also excited. I never imagined my life could turn out like this. What did you imagine? Honestly? I thought I'd end up alone with Maria, struggling to survive. I never dreamed I could go to college, never dreamed Maria would have such a loving family, never dreamed I could be this happy. David thought back to that rainy night outside the hospital when he first saw a scared teenage girl sitting alone on a bench. If someone had told him then how much his life would change, he never would have believed it. You know what the best part is? David said. What? This is just the beginning. Sophia, you're going to be an amazing nurse. Emma's going to grow up knowing that families are made by love, not just by blood. Maria's going to grow up in a house full of people who believe in her dreams. And me? I'm going to get to watch it all happen. Sophia reached over and squeezed his hand. Thank you, David. For everything. Thank you too, Sophia. For making us a real family. As they drove toward their new life, the setting sun painted the sky in brilliant colors of orange and pink. In the rearview mirror, David could see the reflection of his sleeping daughters, and he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones that choose each other. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about romance, but about the love that grows between people who decide to build a life together, one small act of kindness at a time. And sometimes when you reach out to help someone else, you end up saving yourself too. 5 years later, Sophia graduated from nursing school with honors while David, Emma, now 12, and Maria, now 7, cheered from the audience. Sophia had already been offered a job at the children's hospital where she had done her internship. That evening, as they celebrated with Sophia's favorite cake, Maria asked a question that made everyone laugh. Mommy Sophia, why does Emma call Uncle David Daddy, but I call him Uncle David? Sophia looked at David with a smile. Well, Maria, Emma was David's daughter first. But you can call him whatever feels right to you. Maria thought about this seriously. Can I call him Daddy too? Because he reads me bedtime stories and helps me with my homework and hugs me when I'm scared, just like Emma's daddy. David felt tears in his eyes. Maria, I would be honored if you called me Daddy. Okay, Daddy David. And Sophia is Mommy Sophia. And Emma is my big sister Emma. Emma grinned. And we're all family. The best kind of family, David agreed. The kind that chooses to love each other. As they sat around the table that night, sharing stories and laughing together, David thought about how one moment of compassion on a rainy night had changed all their lives forever. He thought about Mrs. Rodriguez, who had taught him that sometimes helping others is how we help ourselves. And he thought about how the best things in life often come when we're not looking for them, when we're just trying to do the right thing. Their family wasn't traditional, but it was perfect. It was built on love, strengthened by choice, and held together by the understanding that sometimes the greatest gifts come in the form of people who need us just as much as we need them. And every night, when David tucked his daughters into bed, both the one who shared his blood and the one who shared his heart, he whispered a prayer of gratitude for that rainy November evening when a scared teenager on a hospital bench had changed their lives forever.